Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, where I try and find the silver linings in even the worst of films. Tonight, I just got done watching the newest film, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, starring Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. In this film, we follow the two of them before they know each other, and they're two very broken people that are very closed off from the world and very closed off from the idea of love. They're very much loners. They like doing everything on their own. They like traveling alone. They don't want to get close to people because they're afraid of being hurt and they're afraid of hurting somebody else. And through a mutual friend's wedding, they wind up meeting, destined by fate, and they're kind of forced to go on this big journey together, kind of against their will in a very comical way. And together, they're forced to go back in time through these magical doors that pop up all across this route that a magical GPS takes them on. And every door they go through is to a core memory of something they went through when they were younger that was a very defining moment in their life and kind of molded them into the person that they are today. And they're forced to kind of face it head on and not hide from it, but embrace it in hopes that it will open them up to the idea that they don't have to spend the rest of their lives alone. It's very much so a Christmas Carol redone into more of a romantic, fantastical comedy with Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, where they start the movie off kind of cranky and curmudgeon and not wanting to deal with the world, and it's to show them that this isn't the way, that you shouldn't be like this. It's okay to love. Like I said, we've seen this movie before. It's just we haven't seen it with this fantastical love aspect spin on it. Now, that being said, I thought the chemistry between Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie was really endearing. They're really good together. They have really good chemistry, and I bought the fact that these two people that are very much the same, very much in terms of they've gone through a lot of heartbreak, they've broken a lot of hearts, and they just got to a point in their life where they don't feel like it's worth it to go through that pain again. And you could understand why people like this would fall in love with each other, and I bought into their romance. It was very endearing. I thought them going back in time and reliving some of their past traumas was also really well done. Even though we've seen it before, it was done really well here with all of the situations they were put in. Again, very endearing and heartfelt, and it's those types of situations where the movie wants to get a tear from you. One of the standouts being Colin Farrell going back in time to when he was born and meeting his father in the waiting room of the hospital and learning that his younger self as an infant had a lot of medical problems and they didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And he has to sit there as an older version of himself, unbeknownst to his dad, obviously, who wouldn't know what he looks like when he's older. And he has to kind of comfort his dad. And it made for a really warm, touching moment. Margot Robbie's mom, as you know from the trailer, is no longer with us in this film. She passed away when she was just a young kid. And she gets the chance to kind of hang out with her again and have a heart-to-heart with her about how she is in the future as an adult. And her mom, whom she's longing for and misses dearly, get to share a moment that they haven't had in years, and she's able to confide in her and kind of tell her about her current modern day struggles as an adult and hear from her mom advice that she hasn't been able to hear in 20 years. And it makes for a really heartwarming moment. And this movie is riddled with moments like that where we go back and we see them relive a bunch of things that we as people have felt before. We get to see Colin Farrell get his heart broken for the first time from a girl in high school, which you also see in the trailer. I'm not giving away any spoilers here. These are all things you see in the trailer. But all of these moments, like I said, are really well done. The movie is also very artistic in terms of its cinematography. There's a lot of beautiful compositions. The music is beautifully lit. There's one scene in specific where they're sitting on like a hill overlooking the earth, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This movie is beautiful to look at. I don't know who the cinematographer is, but they did a really, really great job. I loved watching this movie, and I'm a cinematographer, so I always enjoy watching how they lit things, like seeing where the light's coming from and stuff like that. It was beautifully done. My issue with this film is a movie like this really needs to stick the landing. It needs to give you that emotional gut punch, and this movie didn't have it. I was waiting and sitting through all these really endearing moments, and I wanted to get to that point where it explodes with that emotion that makes you want to cry. And like I said, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't have that moment like in The Notebook where the tension, and not like horror tension, but like the tension of like you just want these two people, Noah and Allie, to fall back in love. And it gets to that moment on the dock where she runs to him in the rain and she's like, why didn't you write me? And he turns to her and he goes, I wrote you every day for a year. And it's like that moment, like you're just like it's like a release of like this emotion that just carries over you, and it makes you want to cry, like at the fact that like he never gave up on her, and it just hits you in the feels. Or the moment where she remembers Noah in bed at the end before they both pass away together. It's just that gut-wrenching, heartfelt moment, and this movie was missing that. Don't get me wrong, it ends in a really sweet way, but it was just missing that oomph that got me there. I felt like I was teased the whole time. I was on the edge waiting for that thing to finally send me over, and it just felt like it took a lot of safe routes and didn't delve too deep into things that would really make you want to get emotional. There is one specific scene between Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie where they're in the dark at night on a road right after their car crashes, and they're having a moment where they're kind of having an argument about their future together, and I almost got there, and I felt like that was kind of the moment, but it just, whether it be the writing or the dialogue, it didn't live up to what I wanted it to be. So even though I liked how this movie ended, I felt a little unsatisfied because we've seen this story so many times before in so many different kinds of incarnations, and to retell it, you almost need to have something new to say, and I felt like it didn't. I felt like someone just saw A Christmas Carol and was like, I want to do that, but with two people in love. And in that aspect, if that's all you want, it works. But if you're looking for something deeper that's going to really make you leave the theater kind of an emotional wreck in both a happy and a sad way, this is not going to do it. It lacks that it lacks that climactic scene of the two lovers destined to find each other again. Like there's no grand moment like that. So even though I think overall the movie was good, it's decent, it's not bad, it just felt lacking. And like I said, it left me feeling a little unsatisfied. So I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. It was enjoyable enough. I love the cinematography. I love the chemistry between the two leads. Just don't expect that emotional gut punch that you get in something like The Titanic or The Notebook or any big sweeping romantic movie like Gone with the Wind. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to see this movie? Did you know that it was even coming out? Did you know that it was based off of a book that's very popular? Has my review swayed your opinion on whether or not you want to see this weekend? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. And as always, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time.